Richard.
Look at you. This is like a celebration. This is like Cirque du Soleil, right? When the red dot goes on and we're starting to talk.
I know, man. How you doing?
I'm well, thanks. How are you, Keith?
Good, man. I like the vest, man. Can you back up a little bit? Let me see a little bit on the camera, a little bit.
Yeah,
Let me see.
sure.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I like that. Oh, dude. Dude, I like the way you live, man. I mean, I love it, man. I mean, I can see you on a cafe in Paris,
Oh, baby.
in Rome, just sitting there doing your thing. I see it, man.
Oh,
I mean,
man, Keith.
and
What?
I'm hitting some pretty big European cities. I know you like the less traveled path and road. So you like being in crowded Mumbai. You like being somewhere in Southeast, and over in Asia. So you're all over the place, man.
I like to disappear. That's the cool,
Yes.
just disappear. Being anonymous, it has a lot of value to it. I really like it.
You don't necessarily have to be on the lam to do that, to have that feeling.
I pretend like I am, then I feel
Okay.
important too.
That's
how's,
awesome.
how's by you? What's up in your life?
Everything's good, man. Just grateful for my health, grateful for our friendship, the friendship that I have with some of our closest friends, man, who are also on the path. Man, I'm just good, man. So I thought we'd jump right into the show today. And
Okay.
so this is inspired by my friend Seth. Seth Welch over at Mayo Clinic, and I work with him, and I do some wellness classes for the learners at Mayo Clinic. And Seth often participates with his wife, who is a fourth year medical school student. And so Seth works in research, and so he works every day with mice and doing different modalities to try to solve some of the diseases and health questions that we're confronted with in this day and age. And so every time I see Seth after he's had a long day of being in the lab and doing research, I always say to him, Seth, how you doing, man? How's work? He's like, Keith, breakthroughs every day, breakthroughs every day.
Oh,
And I just laugh
oh,
and I just smile every time he says, breakthroughs every day. And I asked him, like, dude, was it really a breakthrough? He's like, Keith, man, yeah. I mean, every day is a breakthrough because even when, we don't hit the ball out of the park and have made some advance toward some significant advance toward figuring out how to cure cancer. He says every time we can eliminate something as a possible solution or possible contribution to it, and we can check it off like, okay, we tried that, that wasn't effective. He said that's a breakthrough. That's one less thing that we have to test. And so I think about that all the time. And for me personally, when I think about the practice, every time a life situation comes up that has hit me, that or a person who my ego's been triggered by, and I didn't handle it well, that's a breakthrough as long as I have awareness and I'm mindful of what just happened. So I've adopted this thing that, hey, Rick, breakthroughs every day, man.
every day.
So let's make that our topic, man. So what does that mean for you?
Oh, man. Well, first I want to meet Seth because that's a wonderful concept. Breakthroughs every day is like sort of the flip side of staying on the path, right? And just being in the moment and making sure that you're doing the things that you want to do to keep you calm, keep you centered, keep you focused, keep you grateful, keep you humble. And those little tiny things that happen to us are a test, right? Isn't that part of what you're dealing with when you're talking about the practice and monitoring yourself when you're not doing that? You're always looking at yourself and saying, hey, am I, what did I just do there? Was that crazy? For me, trying to get beyond like pride and anger and frustration, that's the pathway to higher consciousness. If you don't deal with those base emotions, they're going to eat you up. And those are the things that if you let them accumulate, and they become the obstacles that prevent you from having any kind of breakthrough, daily or otherwise.
Yeah, 100%, man. I thought it'd be helpful if we can, provide a couple examples of just some, of some breakthroughs that we've had that maybe the audience or the listener may resonate with.
You go
And
first.
one, want me to go first? Okay.
Yeah.
One of my consistent breakthroughs, and I keep breaking through this one quite often, is being mindful that, and this comes from Dr. Sood's book, the Mayo Clinic Guide to Stress-Free Living. He says before you make a comment, it needs to pass through three gates. Three gates. The first gate is it kind?
Yeah.
Is it necessary? And then is it true? It's got to pass through all three. And when I'm about to say something, and it happened this morning, I was about to say something. It was like something about someone else that they wrote or said or something like that. And I went through my list. Okay, is it true? Yeah, it's true. They said it. But is what I'm about to say is not going to be kind, and it's definitely not necessary. Like it didn't contribute to the space of the experience or the experience I was having with my other friends. And so my breakthrough today, this morning, is that I was aware that my ego wanted to share this thing, something that happened, but about another person, but it didn't pass through those three gates. And so I had a nice little breakthrough this morning. So that's one example of a breakthrough every day. And I got several others, man, over time too. But I'll start with that one, and then I'll give another one later. What
Good.
about you?
Good for you. That's a wonderful example. Well, one of mine was, and I get these all the time, just because I have so many ego-driven behaviors. I just got to really be mindful of it. But here's mine. So I represent a homeless fella, and we're having a snowstorm up here right now in Sedona, and it's really really a terrible time for people who are transients. And this fella has some mental issues. He was arrested. He went into Walmart. He claimed that he was one of the Waltons and thought that he had a right to work in the meat counter. And he pulled up a chair and started cutting meat. Well, of course, you can't have that. Wow. So they evicted him from the premises. He had trespassed him and took him to jail, where he's sitting in jail. So I got this case about 4 o'clock last night, and the snow is coming down hard, and I'm thinking, I'm hungry. I haven't had anything to eat all day, and I had a long motion I had to write, and I'm tired. I don't want to do anything for this guy. Well, of course, if I don't do anything for him, he sits in jail, and he doesn't get a chance to maybe get some homeless transient spot. Like there's a number of places in Yavapai County where a lawyer has to help him get placed. So I was putting my own self-absorption, my own interests ahead of this fella. And what am I talking about? I can afford to miss a few meals. I'm just talking about eating a little later. All I had to do was make a couple of phone calls. Would I do it? No, not until I caught myself. And then I realized, oh man, what is wrong with you? This is exactly the opposite of who you want to be. So, change your ways, buddy boy.
Yeah, man, that's the breakthrough there. And when I find myself being offended by what somebody else said or did, and they didn't ask me to call them out on it, they didn't say, hey, Keith, if I ever do anything to offend you, then, hey, here's how you can handle it with me. Just bring it to my attention in a kind way. We don't have that agreement in place. So when I find myself getting upset about somebody doing that, but I catch it, that's a breakthrough, that day. I had a situation.
No, I'm sorry, Keith, go ahead. I thought you'd finished. I apologize.
Yeah, I had a similar situation with one of my colleagues at Mayo Clinic who is wise like you are. And I remember telling him about this conversation that I had with someone else, and I felt like they were making assertions that were not correct. And I called him to tell him the whole story about it. And he's like, okay, Keith, those resources aren't available to you. Forget about that. Just go and do this. Just go and do this. I was like, okay, man, but wait. Here, let me tell you what happened again. He heard me the first time, but I'm looking for agreement. So I relay it to him again. He's like, okay, I got it. What we need to do right now, because time is of the essence, go ahead and do this. And so now I'm noticing that he's not taking the bait and helping give me agreement so we can kind of pile on about this. And he says to me, he says, this is a missed breakthrough. This is a breakdown. He says to me, I say to him, I said, so, I just felt like I had to respond and I had to defend myself because this person was just off base. And he's like, okay, I heard you. I heard you. I got it. He said, we need to deal with this now. This is urgent. And so I gave it the college try, number 3. Then I finally asked him, I said, how do you think I handled that? I said, I didn't need to say anything, did I? He's like, nope, you didn't. He's like, you just should have just kept your mouth closed. He feels that way. And this is what I always think about what Tim says. Whenever you confront somebody who, whether it's a relationship or friendship or business partnership, and they are adamant about their position, and then you try to come in and reason them. And because when I told Tim the same story, I said, Tim, I was just trying to tell him, like, hey, no, that's not the way it is. This is the way it really happens. And, I would let this slide, but I can't let it slide anymore because you're going to go and tell other people and you're going to mischaracterize what really happened. And then Tim said, let me guess. As soon as you came at him that way, he said, you know what, Keith? You're right. I'm sorry. He's like, is that what happened? I said, no. He's like, exactly. That never happens. That never works.
No, baby.
And so, that was an experience, an example of a breakdown. But since that breakdown, I've had other opportunities where I want to defend or explain, and I let it go. So I've had breakthroughs, on the heels of that breakdown. Now, what were we going to say, Rick?
No, I was going to say that, all these little opportunities really are strung together to give us an insight into our own self-defeating behavior. I mean, how does that help you avoid suffering when you're confronting other people about what you think is wrong with them, right?
It does.
I mean,
it does.
You're suffering because you're allowing yourself to feel like that shouldn't occur. That is offensive to me. This has to be corrected. Now, there are times when you need to speak up and there are times when you need to be quiet. And part of the art of living is to know which is which. But I think that generally we ought to be in a mode where pride, aggression, anger, those are things that interfere with clarity and compassion. And those are your two bigger, I guess, states of being that will make us more caring and more functional and more calm and more able to deal with life's ups and downs. So if we're looking at clarity and compassion as part of what we're hoping for in these breakthroughs, then monitoring and getting a good handle on our own self-defeating behavior is crucial. And the real problem with having hot buttons, with feeling like, you're always offended, is that, as you say, and as Tim observed, being offended about somebody else isn't going to make them change, and it's just going to cause you to suffer. So I think the better way is to sort of try to figure out what things are productive in terms of obtaining a change that you think is important, and what things aren't, and what things aren't your business. Many things in the world, I have an opinion on all of it, but they're all irrelevant, right? Oh, Rick Stroll thinks, oh, well, come on, really, seriously.
That's great.
I don't care if you're talking about, a political figure, or if you're talking about somebody in the gym or somebody in the courtroom. The opinions are what gets you in trouble. If you can just sort of have a breakthrough about not being so self-absorbed, I think life is a lot lighter and easier, and you have a lot more fun.
Yeah, that's been one of my breakthroughs there too. It's like, I love what you said. It's like, I got an opinion about all of it. So
yeah,
it didn't have to be anything very serious or ground shattering, earth breaking. It's just, hey, I got an opinion about it all. One of the things that I've started to practice over the last year was not having a comment about anything. Like, I think I mentioned this before, is I would see people running down the street and I'm automatically like critiquing their gait, their running gait. Like, how does that have any significant impact bearing on my personal experience, their experience, the world, how somebody talks, how somebody answers a question. Dude, I was a judging machine. I was just a wrecking ball at everything. And now one of my breakthroughs has been to just be aware and be like, don't comment. And I literally have this inner dialogue. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. Just look and just let it be. Just look and let it be. And
You know,
and dude, that's not easy. That's not
no,
easy because the
but
dialogue is always running.
if you can get to that part where you're actually living that let it be, your life will turn around. If you can get to the point where you can walk down the street and not see somebody on a bike and think this guy needs a seat adjustment, and he should be stroking harder in a different gear, or the waitress wasn't fast enough, or she didn't pronounce something just the right way that it should be pronounced. I mean, it's a million things a minute that we're judging. If you can just maybe get rid of 10 of them and then do the other 999,000 judging, at least monitor the ones that you're aware of. Try to monitor those and get rid of it. Just get in the habit of saying, okay, judging, that's a breakthrough. Let go of it. And I think if you just practice one day of just not judging, we kind of do this on Christmas, or at least we did, I think, when we were young parents, or I did anyway. That was like a perfect day, and I wouldn't let anything get in the way of my joy and seeing my son's joy opening his presents, or my wife's joy. I loved that day. It was so great. And then the next day was awful. It was just like the house was a mess. The leftovers, we didn't do the dishes. Oh, Christ. I had a complaint about everything. So my point is, if you could just make those non-judgments, string them all together to the point where as many things as possible that aren't really major things don't bug you, I think
Right.
we're all in a better position. When we're constantly judging and constantly looking for something that's wrong, that's exactly what you're going to find. And I think from my experience, I noticed that when I'm judging people, there's a little pang. There's a little wrinkle of disgust at myself for doing it. And I think that's part of like the normal human feeling of compassion and kindness and love for others. That's a little bit of a wrinkle saying, oh, that's contrary to the way you're
Yes.
supposed to be, a way that you are naturally if you didn't have that feeling. So anyway, 100%. I think there's lots of good reasons not to, and part of having breakthroughs is getting rid of the judgments, the constant judging of other people.
Yeah, I completely agree, Rick, man. So yeah, I'll tell Seth, I'll give him a shout out for you.
Please do. Yes.
Yeah, about the breakthroughs every day. And like I said, we have this practice in place because it contributes to those daily breakthroughs. And life has an opportunity all the time, every single day in the form of a life situation or a person, for you to either have a breakdown or a breakthrough. And I'm really committed to those breakthroughs, man, and building upon the ones that are, that happen. So Rick, do you want to close this out? You got anything?
I just want to say to everyone watching, this is one of the reasons why he's an amazing man. I just love his articulation, and I love how he's open to other people like Seth. And when he finds something in the world that's important, he shares it. And it's a wonderful thing to be the beneficiary of somebody else's sharing, even when it comes at the expense of them feeling like they're not themselves or less than who they could be. That's Keith Jones. I love you for it, brother.
All right. I love you too, Rick. Thanks, man. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Adios, buddy.
Adios.